Hi, Karen with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a project for Kitaholic's kits and I am using the June 2022 kit for this one. And my main focus on my project today is to use the gorgeous mixed media kit. I've decided not to do a scrapbook layout. I'm going to do an art journal page. So I'm starting off with just a textured piece of white cardstock that has been pre-gessoed. And I'm going to build some layers. That's one of the main focuses I love to build in an art journal page. Lots of layers on the page. So I'm starting there using the mixed media kit from last month with the wonderful Distress Oxide sprays in the blue colour there, which is the Salvage Patina, and that gorgeous corally colour with the saltwater taffy. Oh, that just works so beautifully together. And I'm looking to make a little bit of a dramatic, I guess, page on this one. So I wanted to use the leaf stencil. As soon as I saw that, this art journal sort of came into my head. And then I really grow from there. So I'm just using the gorgeous bronzy colour paste for through that stencil. Now, what I will say about the paste, it is beautiful and smooth, but it is not as thick as a texture paste, or it's not as thick as the texture paste I own. So it can go a little bit under the stencil. So I did go as slow as I could. Well, as slow as I can. Anyway, I'm very impatient when I'm doing that sort of thing. But I really love this look. I decided that I wanted to see how it fared under a heat gun, and so I didn't dry this naturally. That's why I left this part of the footage in. I love what this did. I got it up nice and hot, and it started blistering and popping and giving some really wonderful dimension and texture on the page. And I'm so glad I did that. I really love it. So I'm working through here thinking that I'm going to have sort of a two-sectioned on my page. So I've cut down this piece as well and just leaving that piece on the left-hand side without any of the paste. And there will be some that gets put on there a little bit later. Now, to give some more dimension to the page, I love a good splattering of ink sprays. So I've added some white splatters, just using some Dina Wakley gloss, white gloss, and also the saltwater taffy and the Salvage Patina Distress Oxides as well. And I'm starting to think about now how I'm going to embellish this. Now, a lot of the times with art journal pages, it's not really about a lot of things that you add to the page. It's more around what mixed media you want to do with that. So to join up my pages, I then stuck down the pieces back onto another piece of white cardstock, which is not gessoed, it's completely just clear. And I am then adding in some of the beautiful metallic-y blue paste. I'm just adding that in with my fingers just to give a bit more of a distressed look. I added it over on that left-hand side and also throughout all that bronzy section as well. Now, before I did stick down those patterned pieces, I also did distress all the edges of those pages as well with my distress tool, just to give a little bit of added dimension to it as well. Now, with my art journals, I always love to have a bit of a play with some stamps. So I grabbed out from my stash some stamp sets that we've had in previous kits over the last couple of years, and just went to town with some black archival ink and just randomly put honest to goodness, it is absolutely random. I really do not plan where I'm stamping. I want to have a little bit of difference between the stamps, a little bit of distance as well. And I do tend to just stick it all down, because at the end of the day, if you don't like what you've done, you can always cover it up or create and it just morphs your page into something different. And that's what I love about doing an art journal page. It gives you a bit of a freedom, I guess, and then gives you an opportunity just to keep adding layer upon layer. So I added in some more of the saltwater taffy spray as well. I just wanted to lift this page up a little bit with, after using the black ink, it's starting to look a bit dark. So I wanted to sort of bring back a little bit more brightness to the page, and which is why I added in that little extra bit of the saltwater taffy. And then I really felt it needed another lift with white splatters. That is always my to-go place. Most of my art journals tend to have white splatters. They don't necessarily need to be over the entire page, but I really find using white spray or white acrylic paint really just lifts it to another level. Now, do a little bit of embellishing on the page. I pulled out one of the strips that I'd already cut off of that the sort of the cut apart paper that the patterned paper from the Sweet Rush collection, and I really loved that saying, yeah, okay, sure. And it'll all make sense in a little bit. I did find some other word stickers that I do add on here, which will all make sense as to the reason why I went with that title. I also had one of my fussy cutout flowers, and I thought that was a perfect way to bring this collection together. And so I'm adding that on with some foam as well. I always tend to use foam, and even in my art journal pages. My art journal pages are very thick, very bumpy, and I love that about them. I've decided the glue that I'm using today has got to be pretty heavy, so I've got my Scotch tacky glue, and I'm using quite a bit actually, because I have used a huge amount of liquids and mixed media on this page, and I really want it to be stuck down really, really well, and I find that glue is one of the best to actually stick that down. And now I've decided I don't want that white border. That's one of the great things about art journaling. You can just, like I said before, you just start creating, and then you think, no, let's move this off, take this away, add this on, it's so much fun. So I didn't like the white around the actual outside edge. I didn't mind that strip that I've got there to break it up in the sort of left-hand side of that page. That was perfect, but the white around it was really bugging me. Because I've decided to get a little bit grungy, I guess, with these darker colours, with that gorgeous metallic and bronzy colours. So I'm really heavily distressing those edges and really inking quite heavily around the edges as well to give some depth to the edge. And that gives them some real definition on the page as well. And again, going in with some more splatters. So the big thing about art journaling for me is all about the layers. So you can't really necessarily all see everything that you did in the first place, but each layer just adds another dimension to the page. And when you look up closely or you're touching it for that textural element, you can really start to see all of the little bits and bobs that you've actually done, even just subtle stamping that you can't really necessarily see straight up. But if you really look at it, you can see the subtleness underneath all of those layers. And I just love putting this one together. To round it out a little bit, I've had some cotton in my, it's string, it's actually string, not cotton. Just put a couple of strips around that on the bottom side there. And then I found I have my leftovers from previous kits as well, and I found those gorgeous Jan Hadfield sayings there, and they're saying things like "I am enough" and things like that. So I thought that beautifully portrayed back into then the believing in myself. My art journal is very much about that. It's just messages to myself. Some of my art journal pages might even have some selfies of myself. I've got an album that I've just created that's just of me. And I always try to have them most of the time in inspiration in some way, whether it's about creative inspiration or it's about inspiration about when I'm feeling flat, I get an opportunity to have a look through and just look at some beautiful inspirational words and things like that. I just really love that about creating something that is just for me. I don't always share my art journaling because it can sometimes be I've just got flicked a bit of paint on, got a couple of sayings, and I'm done. So to finish off, I did add a little bit more dimension to the page with my fingertips and put some more of the bronze and the blue paste around the edges just to give a little bit more definition. And there's all the completed close-ups. So I want to thank you as always for joining me. I will leave the details in the description box below of all the details around the mixed media kit. I believe there is still some available in the store. And don't forget, if you're a subby, please make sure you share what you've been up to this month. We love to see what you've been doing. Again, thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.